Budin from Erste Banka, Fedor Bauer, and the man who is going to delightfully take this through, unfold this conversation in the way it needs to be. Please welcome from 404 Agency, Nikola Vodolyak.
Thank you. So we have 3 companies here who did better or started before other companies, but actually we are waiting for a huge number of companies to start with digital projects, with digital transformation to move forward this market. So basically we want to help them, give them experiences of the companies that we have here. And we have 3 that are in 3 different industries who've done something interesting. So let's start with hearing what exactly are they doing. I'll start with Anna. Can you tell us about your project?
Hi Nikola, hello to all. So basically, Lako by Croatia Osiguranje is insurance project that was launched a year ago as the first 100% digital insurance in Croatia. It was actually developed in just 10 months from the blank paper to actual launch date. And majority it was developed in-house from the backend system, integration system, and the entire front ends, both web shop and the mobile application. So basically we cover buying or selling car insurance policy online, and we are probably the fastest insurance seller on the market, and not only in the market but European market as well, not only on Croatian market. So basically you can purchase a policy in less than a minute. We are also the fastest claim handler on the market. You can, in terms of smaller claims, you can actually receive your money in less than 24 hours. We were the first to introduce usage-based insurance in Croatian market, and the first to launch the product on telematic technology. This is Lako Prevent, which the goal is actually to prevent the accidents inside Croatia. So a lot of firsts in our project, but the most important thing is that finally digital insurance is on Croatian market.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that in insurance that is not known to be very digital, we have product like this. Fedor, we say Erste Bank, but I believe in this audience your other brand is more famous here.
Yeah, I would say that people here will be more acquainted with KexPay. KexPay is a product that was developed in a small internal startup team in Zagreb, in a small office by about 4 to 10 people, depending on the day. It's a peer-to-peer payments app, and it's probably the first app on the Croatian market that's bank agnostic, which means it can be used by users of all banks. Currently at 200K plus users, and moving forward into further payment integrations. One of those, and I'm happy to say this, is also Lako, as Anna has just said. So a small team and a small, let's say, project, I'll come back to that later, in a really big company that has that hasn't invented the wheel, but is slowly moving forward towards making it, let's say, round again.
Cakes definitely changed my life. Ivana, what about you?
So I'm from Valamar. Valamar is the biggest Croatian hospitality company. We have about 1 million guests that come through our properties every year. And I guess my answer to this question is that we think of ourselves as a digital company. We don't think of ourselves in terms of digital projects or growing specific projects. We really want to be a digital company throughout. And we have been for a very long time. We were the first ones to start online hotel sales and bookings back in 2006, 2007, and this was an early, for Croatia, response to what was happening on the global market. And so since then, our online sales have grown dramatically, especially now in the pandemic. But also before, we were already at 30–40% of our revenues that were online. So, you know, a few years back when we started really using the terms digital transformation or digitalization, it was a continuous, it was just the next phase of so what do we do now? We've already seen the power of technology to enable our growth and our business model. Now, what's next? Because we saw that technology was really rapidly changing the way people were using it, but also what it can do, and it still is, as you can see from this conference. So we've had this process basically for the last 4 or 5 years of thinking and doing, digital transformation across the company. And some good projects have come out of it, but the main transformation is this continuous process of adopting new tools, new technologies in really various parts of our business.
It's actually fascinating how travel and tourism been changing in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Everything changed actually. Okay, the most important part. We want to give tips and tricks. We want to help the companies that are in the process of digital transformation, help them how to do the better job. So be honest. Anna, your management board, do they know anything about technology? Honestly.
On a high level, yes, they know. But
Nicely put.
yeah, but it definitely depends on the industry. If you are working in some high-tech IT corporation, of course that board members knows about technology much more. But in industry such as where we are, basically I don't think that it's even necessary. They need to know the purpose of technology. They need to know which business goals technology can serve. For example, if you have a legacy old core system that is dropping out couple of days a month, and then you are losing revenue, or for example, for product development and launching new products, it takes, I don't know, couple of months, that for sure is not good one, and it's not good technology. And these board members definitely recognize. So this is alarm for them.
I see you love your board members. They're not watching online. You can tell everything honestly. Vedar, be honest. Come on. Do they need to know? Is it necessary?
No, I definitely agree. They need to be inspired by it, and that's the only thing I think your assignment is. Get them on board. You all know that when you come to a POS, when you come to a shop and you pay with your credit card or debit card, you just tap and go. My board members don't need to know how EMV chips work or how the POS device was programmed. They say, we want this experience for us, or what can we do to make this better? So get them on board by showing them the potential of what you think can be done. If there's things you cannot do, then mark them up. They'll be surprised by the experience that you achieve, not by the technology you can show them. I would agree.
But how do you get your board on board to support projects like KEX or LACO, which are basically small projects in a big companies? Revenue-wise, you're not that important. Why is that working?
Small, but strategically, long-term, very much important. We are definitely away from tourism industry. We are industry of insurance is not digitized at all. We are basically living in the offline world, but digital and digital transformation are also coming in our industries as well. So there is a decision, are we waiting this time where everybody will be digital, or we are starting now and be the first mover and the trendsetter on the market? Okay. So we decide this.
And I see consequences of the market. Others are actually following, which is great for the market.
Yes, which is amazing.
Yeah. So insurance is not digitalized at all, basically, in Croatia. Banks in the middle. Tourism, much more. So what about the role of the board in tourism company for digitalization? And understanding of technology. Let's not forget about that.
I think they need to be very aware of what technology can do for their business and their industry. They don't need to understand the technology per se, and it keeps changing anyway. But they do need to understand, for example, the power of big data for any industry, especially for ours. They need to understand that communication is changing, the way users are using technology, our guests are using technology is changing. So they do need to be aware. I think that's very important of what it can do. And also then you need to really focus it down on what it can do for our business right now. And that's the role of this chief digital or strategic digital project manager or whoever that is. So that person is very important in connecting those two worlds, the business mindset and the business world of the board and their strategic priorities with what can technology do for me? Because they are not going to be able to make that connection. And that person is critical, that person has both of those abilities, to really understand what technology can do and be more technologically educated, and to also then translate it to the business world.
So definitely high level then. They need to understand strategic level, but the responsibility for technology lays with tech people, actually.
Yeah, and
Tech
this
people and tech managers.
Yeah.
And this is the same for anything. I mean, if you ask whether the board needs to exactly know how a sales process works, no, but they need to know strategically. And so it is the same for technology. But I think we do have to say to ourselves, us, including myself, who are not from the technology world, that we need to keep learning, because if you don't keep learning and following the trends and understanding, at least on the strategic level, you're not going to be able to steer the company in this direction. Yeah.
So basically, they need to understand, we need to be able to sell projects to them. They're strategic projects, or they're not big in revenue. What about the teams? How do you set up the team within the company? How did you set up Lako team? Within very old-fashioned structure of Croatia Osiguranje a few years ago.
No, basically we moved away the team from the mother brand.
Completely separated from
Completely separate the team.
What about
only the
Kex?
team.
The same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started with a couple of people, 3 or 4, I think. It's 50 of us today in Lako team. But we have enormous support of insurance experts inside mother company that supported us with insurance topic, because we knew people from different industries, for small companies, freelancers. We don't know anything about insurance.
But still, you brought many people who never worked in insurance company.
Entire Lako never worked in insurance company, Lako team.
Very interesting.
But we have amazing support from the company about insurance topics.
Yeah.
We are heavily regulated industry.
Yeah.
So this connection needs to exist. The second thing that is important, we in Lako team have the responsibility for all major end-to-end processes, like product development, like marketing, like sales, like development itself. And then the people from the company, mother company, are actually supporting us.
What about Kex? Is that part of the structure of the company, hierarchy, how that works?
I'll try to put it as short as possible. When we started, people thought that making a project such as this involved, special people in a special room that's painted colorfully. It has a foosball and a pinball machine and a lot of beanbags. People just sit around.
No beanbags?
A lot of beanbags.
Okay.
And a lot of cookies, though. But what we did do is we brought a lot of special people to a special place, not that just to follow the rule, but to separate them from the mentality that was onboarded somewhere else. We needed this as
But that's important. So basically, they were in the different building, different culture.
Yeah, we are also in a different building.
Yeah, we didn't want to force onto them like a Google type of thing. This is flashy, this is super fun, you play games all day.
So basically, Google without beanbags.
Something like this, yeah. But there were games, and there were beanbags there. The point is, there was a different attitude. The attitude was different from, it was separate from the industry, so to say, and it focused on things that needed to be done in order to move the project further. And I'll come back to that later, but what we did as the first thing that involves the team is we said, this is not a project. This doesn't have a start date, an end date. This doesn't have like gates, doesn't have a specific goal that it's oriented towards. It has ownership. You guys sitting right here, you're co-owners of this thing.
So basically, dedicated team with full ownership on the project.
Yeah, but full ownership, which means the back-end guy is the co-owner, the guy writing legal stuff is the co-owner, and this is how we got people on board. Not just the board, but also the people that closely work on development.
Yeah, I'm interested in that, but before we continue, Just want to ask Ivana, because it's a little bit different situation. They started digitalization together with their industry or together with their peers in different countries. You had a huge competition. I mean, Booking.com, Airbnb, Priceline, or many others started 15 years ago. How it was actually to get digital talent? How did you learn stuff so fast in order to compete with them? Because competition was amazing.
I mean, competition is good because it makes you look at something more intensely. But it wasn't a fast overnight process. We didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, Booking is here. Let's," you know. So it is a very, very long process since now, let's say 2006, 2007, that we've been building these capabilities. Also, as a big company, of course, we have a big IT department and we have a lot of different software tools and digital projects all along. But the difference was when we started to talk about digital transformation, we said, okay, what's our digital vision? What is the strategy?
Who was driving the change? Some department or a certain part of the company?
No, the board was driving the change.
The board.
The board was driving the change. We said, look, we really now need to look at this from the top down, because we had digital development happening in different functions, in sales, in marketing, in the properties, in finance and accounting, and it was every department was kind of building their own capabilities, and they had their own projects, of course, vendors, partners, etc. But there wasn't a top level view. That's what we wanted to do, and so we said, this is the strategy of the company going forward. How can digital help us? So digital was not a specific project or a separate function or a separate capability we were developing. It was just an enabler. And we said there are a few areas where we want technology to really enable us. One is guest experience in the property, another one is guest attraction, another one is guest loyalty, another one is, I don't know, business processes. So we structured this in a way. And so once we structured it, we said, well, how do we do this? And that's kind of your question about the teams and the people. And that was a big change, because we said we no longer want to do this within the silos of the different functions. We now want to centralize a digital and innovation team that's going to drive especially the key projects across the company. And this team was set up a few years back, and it now numbers 7 or 8 permanent dedicated employees. But it also...
Are they directly under the management board?
Yeah, they report to me, yes.
They report to you directly.
And so...
and it's important because of the mandate, and so they can do stuff in the company.
And we also set up a digital committee. And the digital committee is all the key executives, including the CEO. And this committee kind of pushes and follows the digital team through. But also what we did, we said, but we need the whole company to participate. So we actually asked people, do you want to participate in new digital fun, innovative projects along your day job? And this was actually really good, because in the first wave, we got 70 people from across the company who said, yeah, I want to participate in digital projects. And some of them became project managers, because those projects were really still run by the business. But the digital team supported them, and that's how we've done it since.
So when you do that, for example, how do you make, I mean, when I go to companies and we have meetings from morning till 5 o'clock, and then people from different departments join, and they have one meeting, another meeting, third meeting, how you make them actually really cooperate with you, give you, I mean, they have so many different projects. How you make sure that your projects get enough attention from other departments that you need from them? Anna.
So in our case, first the project was heavily supported by the board and the management, similar to what Ivana said. And we had a short
Obviously,
period.
that's one of the most important things.
That's the most important thing. The second thing is we had a really short period of time. We knew that it can last 10 months. So there was no room for long meetings and long conversations. And basically, the two teams together, new one with a new mindset from the market, people who never worked basically in corporations but were freelancers and working in small companies, and then the team who heavily worked with us along the way of insurance, naturally the process of mother company changed. For example, in hiring, we need to...
That's hard. I mean, to change the whole process. Ivana told us it takes years, actually, to change things. Give me some tips and tricks, like how you make sure that IT will actually give you what you need.
By giving them ownership. similar what Fedor said.
Okay, that's Fedor. Do they see you as competition? I mean, you're cool. Newspapers are writing about you guys. They're not writing about IT. How do you solve competition with IT?
You get them on board.
Pushed,
Yeah, but
back of the
I just wanted to say that don't get discouraged if you work in or for a large company and you don't get cheerleaders. A lot of the people don't get cheerleaders. I would say 80 to 90% have only like a series of memes coming right back at them. Like, you want to do what? No. This happens on a day-to-day basis to us after 200,000 users, of which 80% are users of other banks.
Active users.
Active, yeah. But what I want to say is, don't worry, because at some point in time, and at the beginning, this is the most often, you get a lot of people to disagree, to just hold their peace and never say anything. Cheerleaders will come along once you show them how it's done. If you can, have a short design sprint, do some rapid prototyping, get people on board from different areas. They will love the experience. They will not join you because you say, hey, Agile is cool. It isn't. There's things where Agile just doesn't work. You can get them on board with things you hear at conferences. They don't care about buzzwords. They need to get the job done. So once we started, they didn't see us as competition at all because we were these funny guys in a room full of beanbags. They're not doing anything serious. But in a few weeks, when we came back and had the first demo, then everybody was sort of silent and said, how did you get, how is this done? How do they do this? Why can't we do the same thing? Well, it's because the organization, and then there's rules, and then there's procedures, and then there's legislation, and then, as I've explained earlier, just start behaving like a toddler, like a 2-year-old. But why? But why? But why? And then the questions come, and you have cheerleaders from the sides, those who are not so important, starting asking the same questions, and with time, we are regarded as competition because here things happen.
But that, give me, I really want to know, I always wonder, I know that most of the things you develop yourself, but still you need to connect to the core banking system, right? Yeah. So basically you need IT. How do you wait in line like others?
Now, the first thing, we try to do everything humanly possible to never need anything from the core system. Okay. And once we actually do, we sort of, we use, in COVID times, pun intended, we sort of infected some of the people there, or inserted one of our Borgs inside and said, listen, you'll be assimilated, just let me do my thing. So we've taken a member of the team, we've placed him somewhere where he was invisible and not really interesting to people, and gradually with time we got what we actually needed.
In our situation is the similar, but we didn't place our team there, but we have dedicated people in all the relevant area that are actually working only for Lako. So that's why we basically don't have a line to step in.
Ivana, digital team gets advantage?
But a few ways, of course. This top-level support is important. You make sure that people know some of these projects are really a priority. But I think we did it a little bit differently. I think the digital team showed value to the business. This was the tipping point, because business functions have problems they need solved. The idea is it has to be aligned. It's the same goal. The digital team should be trying to achieve the business team's goal. If that's not the case, then we're probably doing something wrong.
But do you align their KPIs so they can be useful to each other? Because if KPIs are conflicting, you have a problem.
We left the ultimate responsibility for these projects within the business lines, and not on digital. And we isolated some of the projects which we called revolutionary, which were really kind of company-wide, but they still had a project manager and a main function that they were for.
So digital is actually supporting them.
And digital is supporting them, and then when they see the value, because digital figures out how to do something better, faster, in a more agile way, solves issues that they've had in the technology that they use for years that they didn't really know how to solve. And then all of a sudden, digital becomes the central point where all the business functions come. Whenever they have anything that's technological, they say, oh, I want to hear your opinion. How are we going to solve this? What's my next e-commerce platform going to look like? Because I have these and these issues currently in my booking process. And so right now, after a couple of years, they are really working very closely together, but they are not, the digital team is not running these projects. They are still run by the business. So that's the difference, basically.
Just a short comment on this. Digital is not just online. It's not just mobile. It's payments. It's autonomous cars. It's whatever you want. Your cars get firmware updates through the night. That's crazy. But when you start from a mentality that says digital means you take a paper form that's 77 pages long and you turn it into a PDF, and then everybody claps. This is not digital transformation. Just take into account you may be starting from an environment that considers this to be a step in the right direction, but you do need to take all these steps into account and just move boldly forward and show how it can be done. You'll get support, you'll get, as I said, cheerleaders, you get people to come back to you with, we want more of this.
Thank you. So this is IT conference basically, and we're here actually to give advice to big companies how to start with their projects. But as this is IT conference, I wonder how do you get engineers, IT people, digital talent to come to your companies? How do you compete with that for them?
Well, for us in the beginning it was extremely hard because the project was, of course, a secret project, and basically it was word of mouth. People, and that's why how we onboarded.
But you sell them what, the coolness of the project?
Yes, we had also some people that actually returned from international, from other countries to Croatia just for work to work for Lako. But now after a year, we are already on a radar of these digital and tech talents. They see that we constantly bring something new, that we bring value on the market. So basically, I would say that we are in the same position now as every other company who is leading the tech. Digital talents are now extremely valuated, and everybody wants them. So now is the supply and demand.
Basically, you position yourself as a digital. You don't. What?
As a digital.
Yeah, you go to conferences where other IT companies go and so on.
Yeah.
Not together with only banking.
Because we are basically
insurance,
end-to-end, fully digitalized brand.
Yeah.
Completely.
What about Kex? How do you compete?
I have to be honest, COVID times and everything, but the last conference I was on, we hired someone, and this was pretty straightforward. It actually happened. The guy works for us still, and he's amazing. He came and said, guys, I want to be a part of this. What do I need to do?
How much do you insource, or how much do you outsource? How much of your work is outsourced?
It's tough to say because Kex is...
Not percentage, but is it okay to outsource things in projects?
Yes, everything. Kex is outsourced 100%. Company, when you try to say who works where, but the people who built Kex from the ground up are still there. So we do insource when it comes to the team, which means team members progress, which is perfectly normal. But none of the people that work for Kex actually work for the bank, except for me, actually.
How do you make innovative environment? I mean, you're fighting against some of the most innovative companies in the world, actually, that are worth billions, all global. How do you out-innovate them?
You need beanbags.
I mean, you focus on, I think you have to know what they're doing, but you focus on your strategy, on your way. You find your way. And, we are also a Croatian company. We are headquartered in Istria. We are very local in very many ways. And we like that. And we want to also be very local. And so we try to attract talent mainly from Croatia. We have not had any foreign employees yet on our team. We're not against it, but I think we want people who want to be with us for the long term. And what we offer them is not a typical development job. They are not just developing a product. They are part of this whole story. So they work on multiple projects. They work with the business units. They see immediately when things are deployed and how they change our business and our processes. So they're very much creating the product, the experience for our guests. It's and they are also handling a lot of, like you were asking, outsourcing or not. We do outsource a lot. So we have a lot of partners, a lot of vendors. So they're also coordinating and managing these bigger teams that are working on these projects. So I think it's not a typical developer job, and it offers a lot of opportunity for growth for people who are in development and who know development and who will still also code and solve things, you know, when they get stuck. They also have this bigger picture, and they're that's what we're offering them, and we are continuously expanding the team. I think we also very now, especially with the pandemic, like everybody, but even more traditional big corporations like Valamar, we are now much better at working from home or, you know, working kind of.
We all had to learn new skills.
Online, and, you know, so we are no longer as focused on having everybody there in the office, and that's going to give us more opportunities for growing the team.
As we have only 5 minutes left, before I have some questions for you, but just to finish with this section, advice you want to give to companies that are coming or other companies, can be big, can be small, anything, some tips and tricks, whatever. Ivana. What's important? We know when management board is important. We know that you have to have a dedicated team.
I mean, to me, it's just important to get over this idea. I need to start doing something. I need to digitally transform. I need to, you know, technology's out there. It's big. It's unknown. It's going to come at me. It's a threat. It's, you know, those are the mindsets I think that are preventing some companies for just throwing themselves in this. But also, the other thing is, look at your business. Look at what you do, what you are best at, and how can technology help you. Don't think about it as something that is going to change everything you do, is going to leave everybody at your company out of a job. You know, that's not the point. So,
Anna.
Well, setting up the trends. So no copying and no looking what others are doing, but actually setting up the trends. For example, in terms of Lako, we were the first insurtech in the Europe that actually had the policy purchased below 20 clicks. So not only in Croatian market, we set the trends for European market. Then, of course, the team who are the team of pushers. No is not the answer. It cannot be done. It's not the answer. You need to push constantly, especially if you are in the corporation. And the most important thing for me is no compromises, especially on the client side. Because in corporation, everybody wants to put something in the process. You know, it will be easier for us in the back. No. This is how client process should look like. What is happening in the back, it's inside the company. Let's manage that. But on the client side, no compromise.
That's a good one.
I'll try to keep this as short and simple as possible. If there is a best practice for something, it's not what you should be doing. You should be in a situation when there's no practice for what you're about to do. This is the first thing. And the other one, yourself, your team, your company, or whatever, stop treating failure as incompetence. That's it. When you fail, you learn, you move on. You fail, you learn, you move on. You're fast, you're cheap, and you do quantum leaps compared to other people. So,
great one. Okay, in order to finish, I have short questions for you. I want you to answer very shortly, yes or no, or I'll give you the answers. Okay.
Only yes or no.
All three of you.
Oh, God.
So, Adidas or Nike? Ivana?
Adidas.
Adidas.
Wow, I'm happy. USA or Europe?
Europe.
Oh my God, nationalists. Berlin or London?
Oh, Berlin or London. London.
Berlin.
London anytime.
Okay, let's get into our subject. Facebook, is it positive or negative? And don't tell me neutral.
Are you asking from a business perspective or from a personal
However you
perspective?
take it. However you take it. Positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive.
Negative.
Kindle or book? Or a book?
Book.
Audible, but if I
No,
need
no,
to
no,
choose
no,
Kindle.
no.
Book.
Okay. Crypto, buzz or new reality?
New reality.
New reality.
The same.
Oh. AI, help or threat?
Help, definitely.
Help.
Oh, help.
Last one. When you personally gonna own electric car? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or never?
Maybe 1 year. I would try.
5 years.
By Christmas.
Good one. Okay, we're actually 7 seconds short, so thank you everyone. I hope it was useful.
Ladies and gentlemen, hands together once again for Anna, Ivana, Fedor, and Nicola. Right, just